Alright, the goal of this tutorial is going to be showing you how to create a vehicle with 4 wheels and having it be functional. So a lot of stuff went into this one. This is just an example here. I'm using Autodesk 123D Design, but you can go around and see how it is working. You would notice here that I don't have an undercarriage. The gap for the axle here is actually based on another one that I've got saved, and it was just for the undercarriage. So alright, first thing that I'll do is I'll go to my launch pad here. I'm on a Mac, and I'm going to open up 123D Design. Now, for one reason or another, I have had quite a few instances in which Autodesk 123D Design did freeze on me and crash. So one tip that I will say is save often, like all the time. Alright, let's go ahead and get ourselves some basic structures built. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create my wheels. And so I've clicked on sketch a circle, and I'll go over here to a common point, and I'm going to go ahead and make those yeah, let's go ahead and make them 10 millimeters. And you can play around with this. This is really based on what your constraints are with your teacher. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and make it 15 just to give me a little bit bigger, and I can type in there type in the dimensions. I don't have to play around with trying to drag it and make it just right. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make another circle, and this one is going to be where the axle will be going through, and I'm going to make this 3 millimeters. There we go. Next up, I will go ahead and hover over top of this feature here, and I'm going to click on extrude. If I click on it once, I can then take this and drag it up, and I'm going to make it a 10 millimeter tall wheel, or in this case it'll be 10 millimeters wide. So I've got my wheel. If I click on it once, I can, on a Mac, hold down Command, on a PC hold down Control, but Control C, Control V. And now I want to show you this. So if I click and I drag it and I try to adjust it over, you should see that there's a shadow down here. This means that it's not sitting on my grid. Instead of clicking and dragging on this dot, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to pull it along an axis. So either I want to pull it along this axis here, or pull it along this axis here. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to just have it floating, because then it'll be a bad print. So I can do this and repeat that step 3 times so that I've got 4 wheels. And one thing that you might notice here, might not, is that I've got an actual circle down at the bottom, whereas these other ones don't have that circle. What I want to do is, just for the sake of cleaning it up, I'm going to click on it and I'm going to move it out of the way. And you see that I've got these extra shapes. I can just click on it once and delete it. Not sure that it does a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but it just helps me out. So I've got this. I've got the base. I've got my wheels created. So I'm going to go to my computer and I'm going to save it. Like I said, trying to save as many times as I possibly can. One of the nice pieces about the Autodesk 123D Design is the cube up here, and I can go to a different view based on what I'm looking for. Not super intuitive, but it does help you out. This is your pan feature, so I can click on it and click and drag to be able to get to a clean spot, clean piece of canvas for the actual vehicle. So the constraints that I'm putting on myself is that this needs to be a 40 millimeter wide by 80 millimeter long car. So I'll make it 80 millimeters by 40 and hit enter just to confirm, and I've got the base of my vehicle. So yay, us. All right. Next up, I need to click on it once, and I'm going to extrude however tall I want it to go. And I'm going to actually make it go, the constraints put it up to, let me do that again. Constraints in the lesson that I've created say that it can be up to 40 millimeters tall. So you have a car, but you have no way of driving it. So I'll make this look like a truck, kind of like I did in the example. And let me back up here. So 123D Design allows you to draw on different numbers of faces. So if you look and see the grid here, which means that it's going to be on this face. If I move the grid, or if I move my cursor, it'll show me this face here. And where's the other one at? Okay, now I'm down on the floor or up on the top. So I actually want to draw a rectangle up on the top, and I want it to be 40 millimeters, and I want it to be 30 millimeters long. So now you may be asking, why am I going to be doing that? Well, I need to actually get rid of some content, some material. So I've created my rectangle, and now what I can do is I can click on it and then click extrude, and I'm actually going to pull it down. What you should see here is it is eliminating material. So I've just eliminated 20 millimeters of material. And that would be a fun volume lesson, how much material is actually removed from this. Okay, so I've got that piece of it, and also have a lot more wasted material. Now part of the lesson is that it needs to be able to carry a minifig, so a Lego guy. And so let me pull it around here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and sketch another rectangle. What I want to try to do is I want to build a container for my Lego guy. There we go. I've got my rectangle, and now I can extrude it down. And it is also going to go down 20 millimeters. So I can put my minifig in here, I can decorate or enhance this here. I can do a lot of different things with this. I'm not going to mess around too much more with it. That would be up to the students on how they wanted to manipulate. But overall, you've got yourself a very, very basic vehicle. One important piece that we need to consider here is how are we going to assemble the wheels. First thing that I'll do for the wheels is go to Sketch Circle, and I need to select the right face. So I'm selecting the right face here. Notice this would be going on the floor. This one here is going on that face that's showing on our end. So I'll click on it once, and then just for the sake of what we're trying to do, I'm going to go 3 blocks in. So each block is actually 5 millimeters. I'm going 15 millimeters in, and I need to go 20 millimeters. Actually, I'll go a little bit more. So I'll go 25 millimeters. and we're good there. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And the reason I went with 25 is I want to make sure that I have enough clearance for my wheels. No good in having a great design if it doesn't work. So I've got my wheels, and next part that I'll do here is I need to extrude. So I need to get rid of some material here so that way I can fit the wheels in. I'm going to go all the way through, and it doesn't really matter how far I go because it's basically drilling a hole. Oop. And so I just accidentally clicked on it, but you should see here how it pipes through. Okay, it drills all the way through. Okay. I am not going to delete this circle yet, and I'll show you why here in a moment. There, blast through that, hit enter, and looking through the bottom, I've got myself a nice bored out section. Alright, so now I'm looking at the underside, or the undercarriage of the vehicle, and I need to build a piece back into it. Because if I just have this hole here, there's nothing for the axle to rest on. So I'm going to click on the face here, and also keep in mind every square of these is 5 millimeters. So I'm going to leave myself, I want the wheels to come out a little bit just to enhance the look of the vehicle. I know it's not going to make it any faster, but actually make it a little bit slower. That's all right. So we're making it 80 millimeters long by 20 millimeters wide. We've got that. Now, if I try to extrude like I did for the circles, it's going to drill a hole in this piece here and nothing more. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make sure it's selected, click on it once, and I'm going to click on the move button. I'm going to actually get it out of there. Okay. I'll delete, delete this piece, and let's pan over a little bit. So I'm just deleting all the extraneous pieces. And now, if we keep in mind that the hole that we created was 25 millimeters in diameter, that means that the radius was 12.5 millimeters. So we cut out a hole that is 12.5 millimeters tall, which means that we need to fill in a hole that is 12.5 millimeters tall. And now that I've created it, I can actually move it. So actually, I'll take that piece and delete it. This is the extruded piece, so I'm going to move. And I need to make sure that I've lined it up correctly. So to do that, just make sure that it's lined up right over top of those grid units, which that it is. So now I have what is much closer to a finished product. Okay. If I wanted to make this more unified, I can click on one of the pieces and click on merge. So now I'm going to click on this box and the car, hit enter, and this is now one big block. So that's not to be just easily passed up. It's a really good piece, making sure that it's a nice and solid print. And I mean literally solid. You want to make sure. Alright, next up is boring out holes so that the axles can go through. And there's a reason why we didn't delete those circles, because we want to go from that center out and we'll go 3 millimeters. You know what, we'll go 4 millimeters. I know that we went out smaller in the original. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make it so that the axle has a little bit of room to wiggle. Most toy cars that you play with, or your little brothers or sisters play with, has a little bit of wiggle room. It's not a super snug fit. So we're going to extrude, and we'll take and just blow that out. And we'll do the same thing over here. Construct a circle, make sure it's on this face, then click on the center, 4 millimeters, and extrude. Click on it. Once you get that arrow, you can take it and blast. And one thing that I said to do originally, and I have not done, is save. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down Command and S, or Control S. We'll save it on a PC. And now I can delete out these pieces that are no longer necessary. Pretty cool stuff. Got myself a basic looking vehicle. If I wanted to, which you will want to do, when you create your undercarriage, you'll want to make sure that you just do the opposite of what you see here. So you'd have a rectangle that's bored out with those circles, and you'd have a cylinder that comes boring through here as well. We're not going to mess around with that in this tutorial. What I do want to show, to make it a little bit more appealing, is the fillet function. So down in this modification toolbar, you've got a fillet, and the nice part about this is if I click on an edge and then take this arrow and drag it, I can actually give it some aerodynamic. So it takes a, yeah, that's kind of cool project to, wow, that's pretty nifty. And going here, I can go to modify. Once again, I'll take this piece here and drag it to, let's see, we'll just go 20 millimeters. And we'll do the same thing on the back end here. Keep in mind the goal is to go as fast as you possibly can while still keeping the minifig in there, and I firmly believe that I'll be able to do that here. I'll take and I'll fillet the sides just a little bit. And it's hard to see, but the arrow is actually here. So if you don't see it, you can actually click and drag and rotate yourself around. And I'm not going to mess around with it too much. So 2 there, and do the fill here as well. 2 millimeters there. And 2 millimeters. Get the next piece here at 2 millimeters. And you can type it in yourself, but this piece is actually pretty easy to drag around. I'll delete all the extra stuff. We no longer need that. I'll save it real quick. There we go. And if I click on the home button, it looks kind of like a Volkswagen Beetle. If you want to reduce the amount of print time or print material, you can poke holes in either one of these sides. Get a little bit creative with it there, but this is a tutorial on how to create a vehicle that you can send off to print. From there, I would just export as an STL file, and you are ready to go. Hopefully this helps. Good luck.